Hello everybody and welcome to this week's webinar. Here with Brendan Cooper. We're at Tiffany Green's Golf Club in Kansas City, Missouri. As always, we're brought to you by Medicus Golf and Kickex Golf. Oops. And this week we're going to talk about uneven lies. So if you have any questions, just put them in the sidebar there. And once we get done, we'll answer those questions. Okay. So we get a lot of people. In fact, this was one of the questions that was written in and sent them to us, and they don't really understand how to play an uneven lie.
Right.
Well, the first rule of an uneven lie is to make it even. So you have to make some adjustments both with the club and how your body is positioned.
Yep.
So right now we're going to have Brendan take this club. We're going to have him set up, and we'll see. We're going to do the ball below the feet first. So when you have a slope like that, your club usually wants to set at an angle that because you're down here and the ball's below your feet, this is up. So what we're trying to do is make the shaft by moving the shaft up and down to make the lie go straight instead of pointed to the right, to the left, or this will also point it there, and if you put it down here, that will also point it. So we're trying to do is just make it even. So I think we're back up. So let's go back to what we were talking about here. So anyway, we need to make some adjustments on this lie, because again, this lie is going to make you want to swing a little flatter. You have to change your hand position to either higher or lower, just to be able to get the bottom edge square to it. Now, what else do you want to add to that, Ruben?
Well, with the balls below us, a couple things I would add is the slopes will want to pull you down the slope. So two things I would do is feel a little bit more weight down in the heels, and also feel like you're squatting, put a little bit more squatting, try to lower your center of gravity a little bit more since the ball's further away from us.
Now, you'll read a lot of stuff, and you'll hear people say when the ball's below your feet, it's going to fade. Well, that's true if you don't adjust the handle.
Right.
All right. If you adjust the handle, you can play it like a normal shot.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's look at another variation here. So we can now use hitting it off of a downhill line. So in this case, we need to try and set our shoulders parallel to the slope.
I'll take my shoulders here, and you can see. Obviously here my shoulders are level, not running with the slope, so I want to feel like my shoulders are running parallel to the slope here.
Right. And you always want to put the ball, change your ball position, if you're uphill, downhill, slightly back or forward toward the higher foot. In this case, since he's going downhill, we want to position the ball slightly back where you would normally play it. So when you swing back, you're not going to be moving a lot of weight or pressure to the right. You're pretty much going to hang right here on your front side as you take that club back.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing too is on the downswing there is definitely plan on this ball coming out lower. Right. Too many times I'll see players that are trying to get height on the shot, well, then they go back here, they're going to get behind it. So swing with the slope, but definitely plan on the ball coming out lower. Get the shot.
Well, and to illustrate that, so let's say we're going on an uphill line. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is look at the angle of the handle. So if I step on the club head, you can see how the angle of the handle goes up a little bit. Okay. So that's if I'm swinging uphill. Now, if I'm swinging downhill, that same club. Okay. Well, this one's more uphill actually. Okay, there's the uphill one, you can see how much higher that is. And then the downhill one is much flatter. So if you're on a downhill lie, you don't want to take anything bigger than about 5 iron, depending on the severity of it.
Right.
Because it won't be able to get in the air.
Yeah, especially if you've got trouble or if you're trying to carry something.
Right.
It's not going to do any good because you're not going to get that carry.
Right, right. All right, so now let's look at what's the next one we got here.
We can go ball above the feet here.
All right, so now we're going to have the ball above the feet. So once again, the thing we want to do, we want to adjust our body to the slope. Now, because the ball is closer now, your posture is going to be a little bit more erect, which is also going to change how that club is setting on the ground. So you're going to need to adjust your handle again until you get the sole flat on the ground.
Right.
And this will have a tendency to feel like you're swinging on a little steeper plane in the backswing. Right? Nice. What else do you want to talk about?
Same thing again. You want the slope here is going to pull me back down the slope. So you may want to feel like you've got just a little bit more pressure in the toes, so that way on your downswing you're not falling off of it coming this way. Right?
Good. So, and then we've got another one to show you here. Let me see if I can pull my chat box up, because we're not seeing any of the questions here. So let me go over here, and we don't have it in that section. I'm trying to find where it is, so you guys hang on with me a little bit here. And I see a group chat, but I still don't see any of the questions. So let me try to set it up differently. And I will exit out of that. And we will go to let me try this one. See if we can get the questions in again. Yeah. Well, sorry guys, we have lost the ability to see your questions. Let me try it one more time here. There we go. Okay. So far there's no questions in the chat bar, so hopefully there will be some there. Right now, this one, we're hitting off of an uphill line. So you're going to have a little more weight toward your trail foot, a little more pressure. Again, we need to adjust our shoulders to the slope. And you always want to feel like on these uphill, downhill lines that you're swinging along the angle of the slope, right? So the ball on this one now, towards the target would be the higher foot now, so he would move the ball slightly more forward. The ball's going to have more loft, right? So you can take less club, right? Or a stronger club, bring it down a little bit, right? Just the opposite of the other one. So, and as you swing back on this one, it's going to be real easy to keep your weight back too much. You've got to make sure you move that pressure forward or at least centered, and then swing along the slope. Right? Anything else you want to add to that?
The big thing there is making sure that set up with the shoulders, feel like you're setting yourself with the slope. Right? Again, swing with the slope, because like we were talking about, you want to try to make this as even or as level as possible, and that's why you got to make these little adjustments.
Right, and the severity of the slope is going to dictate actually how much you can actually move during the swing.
Right.
I mean, if you've got a severe uphill slope this way, you're not going to be able to try to move forward too much, or severely downhill.
Yeah, and usually the more the severe of the slope, the more, like Chuck was just doing, if I had a slope like this, well, this thing is going to shoot straight up in the sky, and it's going to want to go pretty far to the left. Yeah. So the more up it is, the more severity as far as trajectory and where the ball wants to go.
Right. And again, you can control some of that curve by just adjusting the handle and raising that shaft up and down to try to control the bottom of that club.
Right.
All right. So now we've got a few questions here. So let me get over here and try to get to these. Okay, it's from Steve. I seem to be getting too much earth on all of my downhill lies. Can you help? So Steve, if you're hitting it a little heavy on your downhill lies, okay, which is the one going this way, you're probably leaning back and you're not tilted with the slope. So again, when you're tilted with the slope, you have to move your ball back just slightly. You're going to feel a little more left or toward target at the top, and then you're going to try to swing down that slope. Because if you are tilted to the right on that slope, all you're going to do is hit it back.
Right. You may want to feel like on your follow through that your trail foot almost wants to step in front. You almost want to feel like you're literally going to walk with the slope after you hit it, just to make sure you keep your weight going the direction of the slope.
All right, let's see our next question here. Birdie Girl. Well, that's a good name if we have lots of birdies. Please show us checkpoints for shoulder tilt along slope and ball position too, for all severe lies. Well, we've kind of already gone through that. So when you have an uphill or downhill slope, and again, if we'll use the middle as a reference right now, that may not be your normal ball position, whatever club you have. But if that is, and you have this uphill slope, you want to move the ball slightly more towards the highest foot. Okay, and if I was just the opposite way, then I would move the ball back of center a little bit. So then once I get there and I get my shoulders aligned to the slope, and don't get them too much, it doesn't take a lot. When you swing back, you're going to feel like you're swinging on the upslope.
Yes.
Right? And that's why you have to move the ball a little more forward or a little more back, depending on if it's a downslope. Right? Anything you want to add to that?
No.
All right, so let's see what our next question is. This is from Paul. Iron play from fairways direction and good hit. Well, I'm not real sure what you mean there, Paul, but if you're talking about uneven lies, again, you have to adjust your body and the club to whatever lie you're trying to hit from.
Right.
Remember, the first key is to make it even. So if I'm standing on here, and I'm addressing the ball like this, you can see that my shoulders and my body is not even to the slope. Right? So I need to adjust everything to where it is now even to that slope.
Yeah.
Right? From there, you pretty much make a normal golf swing.
Yeah.
Right? But if you are not adjusting to the slope, then your contact's going to be gone, trajectory's going to be a little iffy, right? Contact's going to be iffy, and you're going to have to make a lot of compensations.
Yes. You know, from a routine standpoint on these slopes, I know with me personally, when you start getting uneven lies, is the first thing that I'll do is I'll always set the club behind the ball and try to get the bottom part of the club as level as possible. Right. And then once I get that, that's going to pretty much dictate my distance from the ball, and then I can start to feel what I need to do with my shoulders. Right. So, you know, just like we keep saying, set the shoulders, but again, we're trying to make everything on a level playing field.
Right. Trying to level everything out. Okay, and our last question here is from Mike. How does one find where the ground is so as not to hit fat or thin? If that's a question that is not on an uneven lie and on a level lie, it's pretty easy. There's a bunch of drills you can do. You can lay a shaft down and put your ball even with the shaft. Okay, and then you can set up to that, right? And I don't think you guys can see this, so I'll move it this way. Yeah. You'll be able to see this. So you can take, just like I said, a golf shaft or dowel rod, anything like that, and then put it at the back of the golf ball, or where the golf ball would be. Take your address position, swing up, swing down, and strike the ground in front of that line. Right? If you're hitting it behind here, chances are you don't have enough pressure forward, right? And you don't have your hands going forward. You're activating the club head too soon, right? You can also do that, and this one, our players don't particularly like this drill. It doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt their equipment. It does hurt their ego, however.
They despise this drill.
Yeah. So with a wedge, you want to put this about 8 inches from the back of the ball to this 2x4, right? So as you set up to it, you're going to take the club up, and as you swing down, your job is to miss the 2x4 and strike the ball.
Yeah.
Right? If you hang back or you activate the club head too soon, you're just going to hit back here. It makes a loud noise, and this one's got a couple of chunks you can see out of it. All right, players hitting the board.
But again, it won't hurt you.
It doesn't hurt you.
It will hurt your ego.
It does bruise your ego. Okay.
Especially if you're demonstrating it to people and you're the one that does it.
Yeah, well, so again, the secret to hitting the ball first is pressure forward, hands forward. Okay, that doesn't mean you move your whole body forward, because then you just
lost your steady head.
You lost your steady head. So you got pressure going forward, you got the hands going forward, but my head hasn't gone forward. Okay? Remember, this is not the move. It is getting it down. Now, the left shoulder starts moving up and around means back. As that does, that moves my hands forward. There's impact, and I just continue to move.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think we're good there.
All right, so sorry for the delay. Hopefully, we got everything answered. We don't see any more questions there, so until next time, we have less than a month before training camp. See you guys.